and you found it to be very successful because it's taking you to places like you said, nothing always with the first place to on the red carpet. We premiered and you just performed in San Diego. What was that like going all the way down, being able to go to different places here?
Yeah, I was really thankful because I went to San Diego to do an open mic. Just trying to get out, to expose myself, to meet different people, meet different comedians and different things like that. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to this open mic down here. So, because I'm like, if I want to travel as a comedian, like, let me prove myself and start traveling doing this cool stuff. And so when I performed or whatever, there was somebody who was another comedian at the show who invited me to come back and perform in her show. And that's how I ended up getting booked to perform in San Diego. So, yeah.
And so talk about, like I said, because comics, y'all are a different breed. Okay?
Yeah, we are.
You are a different breed.
We are.
And that's an awesome thing because I think in any field, but I think in comedy because what you said a different example because you hear so many stories of comedy. I remember there was a show called The Dark Side of Comedy. And some of the challenges, they always, people have to go through things, but yeah, can you talk about what that community is like? You kind of peel back that curtain for us and talk about what it's like to work with different comedians and be able to work in unison to bring these shows together.
Yeah, it's a lot of personalities. A lot of personalities. There have been some people that I've invited, and they were all on board of being on the show, and then something happens. I don't know if they got booked for something else, or maybe they started getting cold feet. Like, I don't know if I can do this. So some people, to be honest, have been very difficult to work with. And then there's some people I'll be like, I'll bring you back and get it again. One day when I become bigger and we start traveling or having a show, whatever happens with my brand, the More Latin Comedy Show, who knows, But I'm like, oh, you're definitely on my list to have back at some point or something. And there are some comedians that I have had back more than once. I try not to do it. I try to always keep fresh comedians coming in on the shows. But yeah, sometimes it's been a challenge, and sometimes it's just been like, oh my gosh, can I just keep working with you? It really makes a difference. I hear that a lot with being able to work with people. Like, it really makes a difference. Like, you can be the best at your game, but if you have a horrible personality, or you're just difficult to work with, bye.
Wow.
Boy, bye. Girl, bye. I wish you nothing but success, but our relationship in terms of business-wise, it's not going to work.
And can you talk a little bit, because as you are balanced that lifestyle as a big comedian, and some other things you do, you're actress and acting as well, but for those who want to be inspired to say, hey, I need to take that leap of faith. Can you talk a bit about the challenges of being out here? Because, it is Los Angeles, California, after all. So I know it's all
money, Los Angeles, California. My hands are empty, okay? They will be full one day, more than enough.
Exactly.
I prophesy to myself.
What is it? You have to encourage himself.
Right,
encourage himself. You have to encourage yourself too. So how do you not be involved in, trying to find that balance? Because as you say, you moved out here from school. And there have been some challenges. As the time of this interview, kind of your writer's situation.
Right.
So have you found it to be more challenging, over that time?
One thing I've learned about people who have been successful in the entertainment business, whether it's been acting or comedy or music, it doesn't matter. In one of the genres of entertainment, nobody has the same path. If I wanted to be a medical doctor or a lawyer, there is a given path that I have to take in order to accomplish that. But to become whatever it is that I desire to be in this industry, there's no right and wrong way. Like, what might have worked for somebody else may not work for me, or what might not have worked for someone else because, it's been great for me. It has been challenging. The challenging part has been to like I've gone through money like crazy because it really is expensive, and I knew it was going to be expensive. So that's not like a shock. So that's been a challenge with finances, to be honest. And you know, like what I paid for my little studio apartment that I have like a college-sized refrigerator, okay? It's what people pay for a mortgage back in the East Coast for a whole house, okay, or a townhouse. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, you know, like when I tell people back at home how much, they're like, "Oh my God, for that!" And then when I tell people here in LA, like, "Yeah, I found this great building that I live in, and you know, it's great. They got parking, and it's this amount of money a month." They're like, "Oh, girl, that is good. That's a good price," you know, because in LA terms. So yeah, that's been difficult. Trying to find work, you know, and I would say that's been difficult because it's like I don't want a full-time job. So I know the minute that I work a full-time job, I'm going to lose perspective. I'm going to lose sight of what it is I came here to do, and that was to take my entertainment career to another level in comedy and acting and producing. So, I've had a lot of little gig jobs. I've had a lot of little gig jobs here and there. I've done things like be an audience member on different TV shows that you see on TV. You might see my face.
Biggest role you ever.
So, like here in LA, I was actually on a court show. Yeah, it was Lauren Lake, Judge Lauren Lake, We the People. No, not the fraternity one. She now does a regular one on Court TV called We the People. And it was to me being open and just saying yes. Like I think Chandra Rhimes did a book or talked about the art of saying yes or something like that. Please forgive me, Chandra, because I know I'm messing it up. But the gist of it is that, you know, something about just saying yes. And my attitude coming here was, I'll say yes to anything and everything as long as you don't compromise who I am. And so one day I had attended the court show to be an audience member on the show, and they were, you know, looking for people to be in the show. And so I played someone caught up in some drama on one of the court shows. So that's like been the biggest thing that I've been in. And unfortunately, they did not post it on YouTube. All of her shows they've been posted on YouTube, but that show they did not. The guy that I was in litigation with, he saw it on some other channel and he had recorded it for me, and so I did get a chance to see our case. And that was a speaking role. So.
What is that like on a court show? I mean, one thing when you're doing on a drama or, you know, doing something, what's that like for a court show? Like, they tell you how to present yourself or do the case? I mean, how does that work?
It's a lot of improvisational work. You gotta, like, improv is really huge in that. You know, basically we were given a case that was true, but just weren't the true people involved in the situation, and there's, you know, there's some things that they definitely want you to say during the court case, and then a lot of it is improv. You just go between you, the litigant, and the judge. So that was my first real big role here, and then I did something else. Some film director that I met on social media, Tamika Briscoe. She's gonna be big when she's moving into that space.
All right.
She had posted on social media that she was gonna be doing a short film contest and was asking for people to submit. So I submitted, and I knew that I probably wouldn't get anything because, you know, I was like, she doesn't know me other than from hearing my voice on social media or what I post. So I submitted, and so she got back to me and she's like, well, we already have our actors, but would you be interested in maybe doing background on it? And I was like, yeah, sure, because I was looking at the bigger picture. I wasn't looking at, oh, she only choose me for background. I'm not doing that. I ain't getting paid to, forget it. No, I was looking at the bigger picture. was like, this is going to be my opportunity to meet new people. So always look for opportunities to meet new people, and to see how we work together. And so it was a short film, like under 10 minutes. It might have been like under 7 minutes.
What's the film on?
Video. I actually sent you the link.
All right.
It's a very good short film. But what happened was, I played the extra in it, but I also helped with a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with other people.
Yes.
I made myself useful. I wasn't just there. I don't know. I just felt led to do that.
Right.
So what happened was I ended up with a line.
All right.
Not planned, so I just ended up with a line. And so when I talked to her like a few months ago, she said, you know what, every time I show that movie and they hear you say your line, I always hear laughter from when she shows it to kids at school. I was like, oh my God, are you serious? That just really did my heart happy.
It's awesome because your comedy is more of a, you'll take these for 30,000 foot view and you'll put it down where the goats feet are. And you have a simplicity that it's a lost art in some cases. So can you talk about what's kind of the inspiration for your art and why it's a bridge, especially who you are?
Yeah, it's been a lot of work. Comedy is something that you have to constantly go to the gym, go to the open mics. Like my mentors, rest in peace, Fat Doctor, rest in peace, Joe Rucker, who was a big name comedian that I performed for, who I opened up for like when I first got started in comedy. I remember I asked Joe Rucker, like, what's the key? And he was like, just get on that stage as much as you can. Get on that stage as much as you can. The Fat Doctor used to tell me, get on the stage as much as you can. You need to be on the stage X number of times a night or X number of times a week. And I'd be like, oh my God, in order to work at the art. And, I took classes too. And I found that when I take classes, I get inspired with, like, a lot of times the material, or at least material to start working on and flesh out.
Right.
And I take, I try to take like my life experiences, very observational sometimes. So I would say that's probably my approach. Some people frown at taking classes for comedy, but even people who because some people have a very natural gift and they are just hilarious. I'm one of those, I have the gift, but I have to really work on it too. And, you can't, like, even if you have the natural gift and you're just naturally hilarious all the time, if you want to be a stand-up comedian, you still need to take a class or two just to understand the principles, the art, the nuances of stand-up comedy. It's more than just making people laugh. It's a lot that goes into it that people don't really know.
And I remember this comedian that said this once on a show I was listening to. And he's talking about, all the work that goes into a 5-minute set. And he said once, and I'd love to get your take on this, he said, it takes you 10 years in this business before you realize you suck. And even after that, that's when you get better. When you realize, so, and like I said, for someone who's so very prepared to do comedy and you're working on just to get a 5-minute set.
Yeah.
And so, how do you know the difference between a good joke and a joke you shouldn't even cut it?
Well, sometimes open mics are not sometimes a good place to judge that. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. If it's a room full of comedians, it's generally not a good place to judge because most comedians are thinking about, when am I coming up, or what am I going to do, or they're talking to another comedian, and so they're not really focused on their set. But if you do get other comedians to laugh, you're like, okay, I might have something there. And most of the time, it's kind of good to do open mics maybe in front of audiences because sometimes they'll let you know by their reaction if it's a good joke or not. And then, and there are jokes that I did like when I first started doing comedy that they just weren't working, but I have since like revived them,
Right.
and they're like people are cracking up, like I went skydiving years ago, and I tried to make a joke out of it, and it just was like,
You rolled down faster than your
yeah,
died.
it went down faster than my dive, okay? Whereas
Yeah.
I have since revived it years later out here, and it's like, it's a hit. So it's a process. Sometimes jokes may take time to and then sometimes they may not. Sometimes you just hit it and it's just hilarious from the start. Comedy is a process. It's definitely, stand-up comedy is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It is definitely a marathon because, yeah.
I hope somebody watching took that, what you just said, as gospel. And so can you talk about the fact that, how you determine, as you said, you say yes to everything. But have you been to gigs you thought about saying, you know what, I'm not feeling this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what's that like?
It was an acting one, actually. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, it was actually an acting one. I had submitted, I saw on a particular website that they were looking for a wife type, and I definitely did the wife type, but I ain't never been married, but I can play the wife. I can play a wife, okay? So my role was to hire a lady basically off the street to seduce my husband. To see if he would cheat. That's the premise of the storyline, more or less. And so I was okay with that. And so I was contacted by the director and everything. And so I noticed yeah, okay, I'm gonna get cast as a wife because that's what I submitted myself for. And then later on in our conversation, he's like, oh no, I need you to be the person who seduces the man.
Oh, man, be the other woman.
And yeah, I gotta be the other woman. And so he sent a link of what he was kind of looking for in the character. And at first I was like, okay, cool, I can do it. And then I kept thinking about it, and I was like, that's not me. I really don't feel comfortable with this, because I'm like, I could be like one of them people that like make it big one day, and then they come back with that video like, oh, she was saying that, she did that.
Oh, no.
And I was like, so probably within about 30 minutes of accepting the role, I was like, you know what, I really can't do it. I'm sorry. And I just was like, I'm going to listen to my instinct. It just didn't feel right to me. Even though I'm playing a character, I'm still me. And when you're playing a character, you're playing someone else. You're not yourself, but you still got to kind of consider some things sometimes. And I was like, yeah. So that was an example of me turning something down.